down here in South Florida for the last 10 years, and I've been focused on vintage motorcycles up until just recently when we took on the Janus line. We do custom builds here, service. We'll do anything from a nut and bolt restoration to an oil change. But it's got to be a cool machine, and that's always what we're after over here.
Welcome to the Janus Motorcycles podcast. Our kind of motorcycling is different from what you see from big brands and big bikes. We manufacture classic, simple, small displacement motorcycles because that's what we like to ride. And we're not alone. On this podcast, we talk with some of the smartest and most interesting people we know in motorcycling, design, and manufacturing. We're glad you're here.
Well, welcome everybody. We are here with David Plotkin. He is the owner-operator of Burn Up Company in West Palm Beach, Florida, and he is our first dealership in the country. And we're really excited to have him on here. We admire him a lot for the work that he's done in West Palm Beach in creating an awesome motorcycle community and fostering a really awesome and authentic kind of base of what it means to ride, and people that enjoy motorcycles and vintage motorcycles and cars, and so welcome. And I'll let you kind of introduce yourself too. That's my best stab at it, but I'm sure you have a
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we've been down here in South Florida for the last 10 years, and I've been focused on vintage motorcycles up until just recently when we took on the Janus line. We do custom builds here, service. We'll do anything from a nut and bolt restoration to an oil change. But it's got to be a cool machine, and that's always what we're after over here. And as time goes on, I kind of broaden my timeline as far as what motorcycles to collect and what motorcycles to work on. And
nice.
As time goes on, I'm kind of learning more about the 80s and 90s stuff that really appeals to me. Since taking on Janus, it's really been an eye-opener. It's one of those things that it's cool to be able to combine all of the properties of an antique motorcycle with the reliability of a new motorcycle.
Yep. You got it. What's your what's the right way to say it? Do you have a rubric for how you decide whether or not you only work on cool machines? What does cool machine mean to you?
Well, generally it's carbureted. Yep. I'd say 99% of the motorcycles we've ever worked on were carbureted, which is somewhat of a lost art these days. Most shops don't seem to want to touch anything with a carburetor on it. Low production. I like anything that's unique, something you're not seeing every day and becoming desensitized to. And something that's handmade, something that somebody saw the whole way through the manufacturing process, so it's something that you can tell somebody had their own eyes and hands on it. It wasn't just some machine assembling it, running it down the line.
That's great. Now I understand why
what we like here.
Yeah, I understand why you're interested in carrying Janus at that point in time. Then.
Yeah, sure.
If you're watching this out there, wide world, if you have not watched the moto vlog that we did with David, Brent and David took an awesome trip around West Palm Beach. But I will ask you to kind of do a quick tour around the history of Burn Up, how you got started. You moved in from kind of the upper East Coast, metro area, moved down to West Palm Beach. And what's the short version of how Burn Up started, and what was kind of the seed or the inspiration to start it?
Yeah. Hobby gone wild, long story short. It's like most of us, you get one motorcycle and you get bit by the bug, and it can be a slippery slope from there. But when I got my first bike and started wrenching on it and started learning all the cool facets of all the things associated with motorcycles. I was immediately drawn to it and wanted to make a career out of it. Just didn't know how, so kept pursuing it with what I knew how to do. Finding the bikes, customizing bikes, selling the parts that I wasn't using to hopefully fund the next one.
Why did you,
It was,
David? Why did you know how to do that? What was your
well,
background?
I didn't. I learned along the way. I guess you could say early YouTube mechanic. It was one of those things I knew how to turn a screw, and I figured, look, if I can find some information on how to do it, I'll figure it out. And starting with inexpensive motorcycles was kind of my fail safe. Hey, how bad can it get? When you start with something that's only, a few $100 rusting away in somebody's backyard, you're a lot more confident to start taking things apart. And that eventually progressed into much nicer and nicer machines, and of course evolved into a full service business. But self-taught combined with support of friends, and it's a lifelong learning thing. I don't get to wrench anywhere near as much as I used to, but constantly learning from my team, my techs, and what these guys bring to the table. There's not a day that goes by that I don't go into the shop and learn something new about one of these bikes.
Isn't that awesome when you have a dream team together and it's like, you just feels like you reach this critical mass, and, you all become smarter than the sum of your parts. And we have a similar team here. So I can imagine what it feels like to be hanging out with people that know a lot of really awesome stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite, what have been some of the high points of some of the projects you've worked on at Burn Up?
Building the Burn One Sky Cycle. That was quite a crowning moment for us. Just to be able to pull that off. That was a huge effort by a lot of different really talented and creative individuals and friends of mine, all coming together to make that happen.
Describe that for folks. Describe that bike. That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is, it started with a fuel tank from an F-86 Sabre fighter plane that I bought on eBay one night, just totally on a whim.
As one does.
Yeah. And picked that up on the other side of the state the next morning and hung it in the rafters. I didn't know what I was going to do with it or what I was going to fit it to, but I knew I wanted to do some sort of Bonneville salt flat, top speed type look with it, but I couldn't exactly find the right motorcycle to fit inside the bodywork. So we kind of shelved it for a little while and then found a vintage dragster front end for it about a year or two after buying the body. And that's when it really started coming together. And that's when we had the idea that we can put steering on the front and still have a motorcycle chassis and engine on the rear. So it became a three-wheeler at that point. And we hit the ground running. We worked with an old dragster builder who made the frame and helped us with the body work. And my team took on the electrical and all the mechanical. And we brought in our metal polisher to polish up the body to a mirror finish, and our local pinstriper to do all the paint on it. And it was a real group effort, all that stemmed from an idea my best friend had one day on a road trip. So it was just one of those things that was a lot of fun, and to see it come into fruition was pretty amazing.
That's awesome. What's the build that made you, is there any that you can share on a podcast? What's the one that made your stomach drop? It's like, oh, I got to do this. I mean, we got to either fix this or, kind of a terrifying situation to find yourself in.
Fortunately, I don't think there's one oh shit moment that really was out of control. But with any custom builds, there's always something that pops up along the way when you're doing something one of one, and there's no roadmap and nobody's done it before. Sometimes you get to that point in the project where you say, oh shit, this isn't going to work.
Yep.
And of course, you got to go back to the drawing board, but fortunately we haven't had any issues that came up that couldn't be resolved or rethought. But I'd say with every single custom build, there's at least one point in the build where it's like, everything we thought was going to work with this has to be rethought.
We've been kind of reminding ourselves and the team here that just because it's hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Right. Sometimes that means you're doing the right thing, is that you're leaning into the challenging parts of it. Means you're doing something nobody else has, or somebody won't do.
And you chalk it up to R&D. I mean, that's part of figuring it out. And it's like anything. And then when you do the next one, you take what you learned from that and you adapt it and you apply it.
Mm-hmm. So I got to visit almost a month ago. Doesn't seem like that long. Got to visit Burn Up, and I just kind of wanted to paint a picture for folks of what it's like to show up there. It's on this kind of industrial road, maybe used to be an industrial area in West Palm Beach. Beautiful old warehouse. Garage door is open. You walk in, and it's this big expanse of not just motorcycles, but interesting motorcycles arranged with all kinds of ephemera, different bikes up on the walls, the Sky Cycle right there as you walk in. But you have a couple of, maybe half a dozen actual mechanics bays off to the right, custom bikes, your bikes out front. It's kind of you got what is it, Isle of Man, what is it, Manx TT
arcades,
video game that my daughters loved. It's really a neat environment, and it's just very welcoming. And you do, as you mentioned, custom bikes there, repair work. I'm trying to paint just kind of a picture in words for folks that are just listening to, that will just be listening to this. And then a lot of BMWs. Certainly that seems like a theme for you.
Yep.
And then you maybe 60s and 70s. You mentioned 90s.
BMW in here.
What about those bikes do you like?
I like the simplicity of BMWs. The build quality is incredible. The tolerances are very tight. So working on them is a real joy. You go from working on a 1970s BMW to a 1970s British motorcycle, and it's like, what the heck happened here? It's night and day. I like the fact that there's a lot of unification on those bikes from the 70s to the mid 90s. So much of that stuff crosses over. So it gives you a lot of flexibility on what you can do with those bikes. And there's a lot of part support for those bikes. So you combine that with them being really hot in the market right now. There's a lot of opportunity to go a lot of different directions with those bikes, whether you like to restore them, custom build, or do something in between. We have a lot of customers, they want to keep it true to the period appearance and don't want it to look outlandishly custom, but also don't mind making it more reliable, adding creature comforts, small styling cues that make it their own.
Well, that's really, have you ever run into needing to do work on older bikes? Like for us, that's a vintage bike is even 80s.
Yeah.
What about like older than the 50s? Do you ever get anything interesting in like that?
Yeah. We got a 1930 AJS not too long ago with exposed valves, tank shift.
Oh, wow.
I mean, really, really antiquated. And we had that thing fired up in less than 30 minutes, and we're going down the road with it. And it was surprisingly quick. You would think it would be a glorified bicycle. And for a little 350, that thing really, really took off. We've got a lot of World War II stuff in here, a lot of which we ride around on the street, which is pretty cool. So, taking history and putting it back into motion is a lot of fun too, especially when it's something that was built for a total utilitarian purpose, and now we're out enjoying it over here on our
Yeah.
roads and on our days off. It's a lot of fun.
With your, you said you do repair work and customization. Um, what does that look like? Is it kind of the classic customer finds you, commissions a build, or do you build bikes just on a whim, like what you want? Or how does that work?
A lot of the time, a customer will come in with a vision, either with a bike they already have, or they'll buy a bike from us. I'd say that's probably around 50-50. I try to have bikes here in the shop for people to start their build with. And we go through the process and we do it completely, a la carte. We figure out, what the customer's budget is as far as cost and time. And that really allows us to guide them into the direction of where they can allocate their budget to get what they really want. So for some people, comfort and reliability are paramount. On others, it's, hey, I just need to get it to the bike night once a month. So depending on, what their goals are, we can tailor the bike build to them and their specific needs and wants.
And is it a pretty diverse crowd, or are these people that are pretty experienced motorcyclists, new?
Pretty diverse crowd. Yeah, we've got some people in here who are first time riders, and pretty much are looking for some rolling art. And then you've got people who are, seasoned vets and been doing this, for 60 years, and now they want to do kind of like their final and last project and want to give it their all there, and anything in between, really, which is what I love about what we do.
Yeah, that's the beauty of doing a custom bikes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all different, but is there anything that you would say sets a burn up custom build apart from somebody else?
Functionality. We always consider functionality. Every build we do, every bike we finish, we put down the road. A lot of motorcycles are done more on the premise of just art and not being rideable, but our customers like to ride their bikes, and that's how you kind of keep them alive. So I think that's a huge part of when we design a bike. We always keep function in mind.
Any kind of design aesthetic that you're going for with all of them, or is it completely, like you say, a la carte for the customer?
Yeah, each one is different. Much like Janus, we're trying to do more blending the old with the new, trying to find modern components that kind of hark back to the older designs and have some design cues from older components inherently in their design. But each bike is unique. We don't mind, departing from original design whatsoever. And just kind of pushing the limit of what you can do with these, whether it be crafting a custom gas tank or putting a suicide shift on, and just doing things that you're not seeing other builders do with these bikes. That's what we're working on now.
Very cool. And this is not a place that people that you're only, if you're a motorcycle expert, you show up and talk to you. It seems like you kind of want it. It's got an aesthetic that you want people to just show up and hang out and maybe learn something too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, a lifelong learning experience. There's so many different aspects of motorcycles and their history that you could really get lost in it and pick and choose your own segment and sect if you want. And there's a lot of history that comes with them. So, sharing that history with people, explaining to them, why this motorcycle is significant outside of just being a motorcycle, whether it's related to gas crisis or a war or, technological advancements, and that kind of ties into a broader historical topic, which always fascinates me.
So I guess what I'm getting at there is that, like, if you're interested in motorcycles, if you're just want to check them out, your shop is a great place to just hang out. You can walk in the door, you can learn a little bit, like David's saying about. I mean, it's almost like a museum. You've got they're even organized by
Yeah.
different themes. The World War II section. You
Yep.
can go there, hang out, maybe buy some merchandise. He's got an awesome little shop with T-shirts and helmets and apparel, stuff like that. And then sit down, learn about some bikes, just have a good time, enjoy yourself. And then there's also some Januses to check out over in the corner as well.
We've got them on display front and center.
So if
you guys still talking about the awesome shop? Sorry, I had to run. Yeah. Got to get our wheels trued.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we have tentatively, or at least a working title for our podcast is called Why We Ride. And we've talked about building a lot and our shops and, kind of the wrenching aspect of it. Why do you ride? What's the story?
I was just thinking about that this morning, thinking about that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it's a combination of speed. And that doesn't mean going 100 miles per hour. That means
Mm-hmm.
just going faster than man has known how to move for so many thousands of years until, we developed the wheel and developed the internal combustion engine, made all these steps towards pushing ourselves faster and faster. So I think that the physical sensation of it there is extremely redeeming. And I think there's also a psychological component to the freedom of it, the fact that you are just kind of balanced and moving through uninhibited, especially riding through a city is when I really, really feel liberated. I always had in my mind, like, I'd never want to ride in the city, too congested. And on a motorcycle, it feels the opposite. It's like, man, I'm really glad I'm not in a car right now. Mm-hmm. So, there's an exciting component to it as well as just an overall liberating and a very streamlined component to riding a motorcycle.
Yeah. We talk about feeling fast a lot here rather than, it's fast as a feeling, Richard says, and it's true. Yeah. And the sense of kind of having it really is, Kyle, one of our builders, brought up, he said, it's like, he's a serial collector of Honda, small displacement Hondas. He has a storage unit full of them. And he just said, it's like, kind of like the cowboy ideal. It's the American West on a motor. It's like the sense of self-sufficiency and freedom and agency that you like are able to pilot your horse through the world or 14 horse engine or 30 horse or 100 horse, whatever. I think that is what speaks to a lot of people. It's not necessarily there is an aspect of it that's like, some machines out there are like getting into a spaceship or a fighter jet, like your machine. But there's another aspect of it that kind of inspires what we do at Janus. It's more like getting on a horse. It's like more of a striking out on your own. And there's wonderful ways to experience both. But it is kind of different, maybe different schools of thought or a different kind of angles on the same object. So yeah, it's fun to hear people say that, and we always talk about that sense of the freedom and liberation that just comes. Everybody does it, rides a motorcycle. There's a reason why we call cars cages because of that. I don't know. What are you laughing at, Richard?
Oh, nothing. Just I love hearing people talk about it because there's a lot of different ways of describing it. I love what you're saying, David, about the fact that it's about speed, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's about speed isn't necessarily something that's defined by miles per hour. Like the motorcycle experience doesn't necessarily get more intense at 150 miles an hour. It may be more dangerous, but sometimes
Right.
55 is an amazing speed and you feel
Yeah.
fast. So
For sure. For sure. It's all relative.
What's your dream bike, David? And then what would be like, what's the like pie in the sky? Like what would be I mean that in one for you to build, like what would you love to do? What would be like if, Warren Buffett came to you, some random person out there in the universe that was either famous or not famous and said, here, I have this blank and I want you to make a blank out of it. What would it be?
I've really been fascinated with taking really early chassis, like almost a board tracker style, like a bicycle chassis, and making a board tracker e-bike. That's been my latest kind of passion. We're fortunate enough to be working with one of our clients who bought an old Honda 175 from us and decided he wanted to go all electric with it, but still keep all the vintage touches. And that has been completely in alignment with what I'm trying to do with an old board tracker. I looked into doing it about a year or so ago, and it's kind of stopped short because availability of parts. It's really hard to find bicycle frames right now and bicycle components of any sort to start with. So I've kind of shelved that idea for now, but that's I think what's really been looming in my mind for the last year or two.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So we've started using Chad as a delivery guy for our bikes, and I think did we hear about him through you? Is that right?
Yeah.
Chad Mowry. Yeah.
How long have you been working with him? Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's see. I found Chad probably about 5 years ago. I think I just came across him on UShip, back when I was still vetting shippers and trying to find a guy who went in each direction, trying to build a portfolio of people I could count on. I went through a lot of UShip shippers and a lot of weirdos, and a lot of unreliable people until I found my guys, and he's one of my guys. He just shows up when he says he will and takes his time and takes good care of everything. And when you're dealing with this stuff, it's like there's no room for error, especially with these antiques where you damage something, you might not be able to get the replacement. So it's really important to me to have a shipper that's going to put the extra care out and take that extra moment just to make sure everything is secure and safe.
He's quite the experience when he pulls up. So just for a little context, Chad is an amazing motorcycle delivery specialist who we've heard about through David and started using probably in the last 6 months, Grant, something like that.
Yep.
And he has this wonderful rig. It's almost like Mad Max is showing up at your location, and he loads everything up, and it's always the trailer is full of frames of interesting bikes, maybe something that's looks like it left in a swamp, and then another bike that's like mint condition. And then all the Januses go in on little racks, and we've had nothing but rave reviews from our customers who've gotten a bike delivered by him. So it definitely deepens the Janus experience, and I'm sure your customers, David, appreciate that.
Awesome.
Kind of eclectic.
Well, I'm glad they're in good hands.
You have any questions for us, David? What do you want to find out about Janus?
What's new over there? What's getting you guys excited in house? I know you're finally getting caught up with your 450 production and rolling out a lot of that. What's shaking in your wheelhouse?
That's the big thing in front of our nose right now. It's getting 450s out. We've got about 120 orders of 450s to fulfill, which is awesome. I mean, it's great to know what you're doing for the next 6 months. And it's been fun to see the team come together to figure out interesting solutions to things. It's been really fun to see kind of the optimism and the excitement start to kind of bubble up a little bit more intensely when Ryan's building bike number 35 today or something. So just we had one of our all-time favorite customers, Tim, who was the first guy to kind of get a burr in his saddle, and he took his 250 all the way to Dead Horse, Alaska without telling anybody. He's just like, he called us and said, "Hey, I'm in Dead Horse and I need another mirror and a shift lever or something because I dumped it in a pothole or something." We're like, "Wait, where are you?" But he came and picked up his 450 and he said, "I was here not a year ago. And you guys, it was just a dream." He said, "You had one prototype and now I'm picking up my bike." Like, I said, "I wish I could bottle that and, take a little, little swig every morning." And it's fun to see kind of the flywheel start to spin on 450 production. And it's just, it's fun to start thinking about the possibilities of where we'd go with that and some of the interesting partnerships and people that we can get on, riders out there in the world that we can partner with. And, everybody's got to get down to very jealous for anybody that's been down to West Palm Beach yet. And I want to have everybody in the shop get down and, experience a bikes and coffee with you all, or, just a Saturday hangout, especially in the winter months. It's wonderful to see the photos, but it's so it's fun to start dreaming about what's possible with that. And I don't know, that's what's getting me excited. Start to see some of that horizon. So what about you, Richard?
Oh, we've got a lot of new faces here. It's
Yeah.
kind of exciting. We've got kind of expanding our fabrication wing, looking forward to bringing more of the 450 and possibly the 250 line gradually, responsibly in-house from some of our external vendors. So that's been fun and stressful too. We got people coming in. Actually, we have a chassis welder coming in to start work this afternoon. So it'll be fun to gradually get people trained up. We got some new faces, even in our HQ coming in, several. So that's been exciting, just to see the team expand,
evolve and grow. And
we had a company meeting. I don't know, was it 2 weeks ago? And it was just like, wow, this is really turning into something big.
Yeah.
Just to see everybody there. And I don't know, I feel like I don't know, last year was difficult. It was challenging just with all the delays and everything like that. And I feel like this year we're really setting ourselves up for growth and exciting new things. So big part of that's getting the 450 really.
And now you guys are really in that groove and have that momentum. I bet it feels like all systems go.
Yep. Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah. On a certain level, it's we're still, Richard is providing manual. You're working on every single 450 that leaves the shop, Richard, which is pretty awesome in one sense.
Everything from inspecting and stamping the 450 chassis to test riding them and swapping out wheels and just all the little bits.
Yep. That's not going to fly for 1,000 of them, but it's really great to have that for the first 50 or more. So it's
just like on the 250, it took us a while to figure the bike out. We just did a video on the engine on the 450, and we've been working on it for probably now 3 years. And you think everything about the bike, the history of the engine, the chassis you're working with. You've worked on it for 2 years in a row, but it takes time to familiarize yourself with a bike, with a model. And obviously we know them better than probably anybody, but every day you're learning a little, okay, wet sump, this is how you properly check the oil, or, and a lot of it, you're going back and looking at what did Honda do on this, or what is the history here. So the 250, it's taken us a while, but we really feel like we have a good understanding of that bike. And it's pretty easy to diagnose an issue or basically send it at the door without test riding it. Every bike goes on a rolling road, but you know where all the rattles might be. With the 450, but we're still familiarizing ourselves.
Yeah. I know how that process goes. Well, that's very cool, guys. I'm so excited because, I've been following Janus for the last 5 years about, and it's just really cool to see you guys grow and more, get more and more notoriety. And, everybody that comes in here, they stop at the Januses and ask questions, and, they're really admirable. And I think it's great what you guys are doing for motorcycles. I think it's great what you're doing for American made products and industry. And I think it's great what you're doing for both modern bikes and antique bikes. You're really, a cross pollination for both sectors. So it's really great to see that, and it's why you guys have always had my support.
Well, I really appreciate hearing that, David. And if you'd only open up a Burn Up in maybe like 5 other locations, we'll have them.
Working on it.
Burn Up is, there's other great world famous locations out there, Ace Cafe and stuff, but you guys are in the thick of it for, the amount of community and, what you've kind of fostered and have grown there is really cool. And I'm just looking from afar. I've never been on the ground there, but everybody that I've had experience it is doing awesome. So we're really glad to be counted among your number. So thanks for joining us, David. It's been a pleasure, and here's to many more awesome experiences together, more in person, more rides together. That would be great.
Good talking, David.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Likewise.
Have a great Wednesday.